to silent or vibrate. And then let's please all stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to introduce Sherry Jones, who's going to be our acting clerk for the evening. So welcome, Sherry. Would you go ahead and take the roll, please?
Councilmember Byrd.
Here.
Councilmember Dalby.
Here.
Councilmember Rowe.
Here.
Councilmember Stevens.
Here.
Councilmember Strebe.
Here.
Mayor Lozelle is also here.
Number 1, approve the minutes from meeting number 6 on March 6, 2018 as presented.
Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any comments or questions? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Byrd.
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby.
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens.
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe.
Yes.
Number 2, this is the time, place, and date set to continue condemnation of the structures on the lot located at 149 South Iowa Ave.
Good evening, Jody. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As you'll recall, the property at 149 South Iowa was placarded September 16th due to a pest infestation and structural issues, and then the Board of Health condemned the property on February 20th. At the February 27th meeting, the Board of Health met with the owner's legal representative who appealed the condemnation and requested an extension to March 20th, today, in order to complete all the repairs on the house. The building inspectors conducted a final inspection on the property. That was done March 14th, and they have released the house for occupancy, and therefore we're recommending that you rescind the condemnation action. And we do have pictures of the interior of the house. They did hire a licensed plumber to do the plumbing work under the sinks. They also had the furnace work that was done incorrectly originally replaced. They have the correct smoke detectors, dual sensors. They repaired the front of the lavatory. Furnace work that was done incorrectly is now correct. They have GFCI protection around the countertops.
Okay, this is a public hearing, so if there's anyone in the audience that wants to address this item, now's the time to step to the microphone. Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Okay, let's take the roll.
Councilmember Byrd.
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby.
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens.
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe.
Yes.
Is there a motion to accept the recommendation?
Your Honor, I'd make the motion to rescind the condemnation against the 149 South Iowa Avenue property.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Holly. Any questions for Jody?
I just have one, Your Honor. During the first, and I believe also the second presentation with this house, there were several pictures that were taken regarding the windows and the condition that they were repaired in. Has that been repaired also?
That was corrected. The beginning of the slide presentation tonight, it showed sheets or curtains hanging in front of those windows. And so I asked the inspector whether he had looked behind them to make sure that everything had been repaired. And he said that it was, and that they had the furnace running the day he was there, showing the curtains were billowing out. And at first he thought it was because they hadn't repaired the windows and air was coming in, but in fact they had repaired them and the curtains were billowing because the hot air was catching them.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Byrd?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Number 3, this is the time, place, and date set to consider condemnation of structures on the lot located at 420 Herman Avenue.
Okay, go ahead, Jody.
Thank you, Mayor. This property was placarded May 18th due to a number of deficiencies, including no working bathroom. The house at that time was owned by Carl Townsend, and it was later purchased by Jacob Matthias in September of 2017. Mr. Matthias submitted a repair plan, and he began working on the house in November, and shortly thereafter it burned. The owner, Jake Matthias, cannot afford to demolish the house, and there isn't any insurance on it, and you can see that it's a total loss, so staff is recommending condemnation.
This is also a public hearing. Is there anyone who wants to step to the microphone? Seeing none, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Take the roll.
Councilmember Byrd?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Recommendation is to approve the condemnation of the structure at 420 Herman. Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions for Jody? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Byrd?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Number 4, this is the time, place, and date set to consider condemnation of the structures on the lot located at 121 South Iowa Avenue.
Go ahead, Jody.
This property was placarded March 12, 2017 due to a fire, and the owners requested an extension when we brought this to the Board of Health meeting in February. They wanted until March 20th to repair the house, and as you can see, little to no work has been done on the interior of this house, and therefore staff is recommending at this time that you condemn the structure.
This is also a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience who wants to address this item? Seeing none, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Take the roll.
Councilmember Byrd?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Staff recommendation is to approve the condemnation of the structure located at 121 South Iowa Avenue. Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Any questions for Jody? Seeing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Byrd?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jody. Is there any other business for the Board of Health? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. Take the roll.
Councilmember Byrd?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
At this time, we'll move into the regular council meeting. We do need to take another roll call, so if you would do that, please.
Councilmember Dalby?
Here.
Councilmember Rowe?
Here.
Councilmember Stevens?
Here.
Councilmember Strebe?
Here.
Councilmember Byrd?
Here.
And Mayor Lazio.
Here.
We'll go ahead with the items on the consent agenda.
Number 1, minutes from special meeting number 10 on March 5th and regular meeting number 11 on March 6th as presented. Acknowledge February financial report and payment of bills as submitted by the Finance Department. Proclamation of May 19th, 2018, Kids to Parks Day 2018. Reappointment of Xavier Wilson to the Civil Service Commission, term to expire 4/1/22. And Kim Helge to the Parks Advisory Board, term to expire 4/19/23. And Sandy Berto to Ottumwa Housing Authority, term expires 11/22/19. Appointment of Christina Reinhardt to the position of city clerk effective March 26, 2018. Approved Drug Task Force Brian JAG grant submission to via internet and authorize the mayor to sign all related documents. Approved change order purchase of hydraulic kit for $1,890 for tractor mower purchased from Sinclair John Deere for the Parks Department. Approved purchase of traffic aware pod detection system for East Main and Jefferson Street intersection. Set April 3rd, 2018 as the date for a public hearing on plans, specification, form of contract, and estimate cost for the sidewalk drop and detectable warning installation project 2018. Resolution 81, 2018, setting April 3rd, 2018 for a public hearing on the intent to dispose of city-owned property located at 306 Ottumwa Street to Chantel and Kevin Geider for $1,203. Resolution 82, 2018, setting May 1st, 2018 for a public hearing on the intent to dispose of city-owned property located at 2433 East Main Street. And then approve the salvage dealer licenses for Courtney Car Crushing and Scrap at 825 Payne Street, Alter Metal Recycling at 404 North Forest, and Rosamond's Inc. at 902 East Main Street. Approve lease agreements for ball fields groups 2018-19 to adult softball, girls softball, YMCA at Sycamore Park, American Legion, Ottumwa High School, and Ottumwa Little League.
Okay. Okay, is there a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby,
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe,
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens,
Yes.
Councilmember Byrd.
Yes.
Item C is approval of tonight's agenda, and before we move to that, I would like to call your attention that we are going to recommend pulling item H3. We need a little more time to finish that project. And we're going to table item H4 so that that company can get their insurance papers in order. So if somebody would be willing to move the approval of the agenda with those two items being either pulled and/or tabled.
Your Honor, I'd move to approve the agenda with the exceptions of pulling item H3 and tabling item H4 till the next meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Victor. Any questions? Take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby,
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens,
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe,
Yes.
Councilmember Byrd.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Item D is the reports from city officers, boards, commissions, and committees. And I think, Andy, you're going to start
Yes, thank
that?
you, Mayor. You'll see on the agenda listed the fireworks legislation update. Chief Miller is with us here this evening. He has an update that would like to bring council up to speed on.
Good evening, Chief. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members. I'm going to bring up an issue that was brought up probably 2-3 months ago about fireworks, where it's at, where it was supposed to be and where it's at right now. What happens on December 8th, we had a meeting at the state with people from all over the state, fireworks people, lobbyists, city attorneys, county attorneys. And it was decided that what was going to happen by the state attorney said this is what was going to happen. Early in the session, they were going to bring up the fireworks bill because there's some additional changes they wanted to make to it. Where we are right now is what happened in the situation is they did not bring anything up to make no changes to the current law. And the reason this was brought up or was not brought up is because they thought that if they was going to bring this up, and all the council members, city administrator, and the mayor, I've gave you a list of all what most of the cities in the state are doing. Most of them have banned it with the exception of a couple that are going to allow it as is, and some have even changed their hours of use. Why they didn't bring that up, they thought the reasoning was they thought if they brought this up to make additional changes to the fireworks bill, that with all the cities that banned fireworks, that they were going to bring up the bill to completely do away with them again. So their reasoning was that, so they never brought nothing up. Now the funnel's already hit, so fireworks is a dead issue right now. So whatever the law was last year is what the law is going to be. The fireworks sales is the same. There's still nothing you can do about fireworks sales. They have to be allowed to be sold, but there are zoning laws that can be passed. Hours of use can be limited. And that's where we are right now. And I don't foresee that changing, obviously, this year. And next year, I'm not so sure it'll change next year.
Okay. Any questions, Chief?
I got a quick question, Your Honor.
Sure.
The inspections, are those going to be handled by the state or fire marshal, or is he going to delegate that to the local?
What they're going to do is everything will still be run through the state fire marshal's office. I talked to Dan Wood, the state fire marshal, recently, and they're going to, because there's so many that needed to be inspected, that they're going to get a hold of the locals like they did last year in Ottumwa and run everything through the state fire marshals. They will probably pay the city a fee, but I don't think we're going to be able to charge a fee.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Tony. Unless there's other questions or comments. Andy, anything else you want to comment on?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, one last item. I believe it was the February 27th Bridgeview meeting. You mentioned that the Fly Ottumwa project will be coming to town this summer. I don't have the exact date. Just to inform everyone on council and mayor knows as well, this will fall under the sponsored project policy that council passed earlier this year in terms of the city proffering certain resources and monies. That policy does apply to outside events such as this. Just want to bring council up to speed on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Item E, if there's anyone in the audience that wants to address a council on a particular item on the agenda, we ask that you fill out a sheet and give it to the city clerk. Is there anyone that has filled out a sheet? Okay, let's go to item F then.
Number 1, authorize payment of the 2018 RFQ Elm Street Emergency Sewer Repair. Recommendation, approve payment for the emergency sewer repair to DC Concrete and Construction in the amount of $6,000.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Good evening, Larry. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Staff solicited bids to make an emergency repair to remove a concrete obstruction in a sewer line to prevent additional basement backups. Staff had attempted to remove concrete with several different cutting heads, but were unable to cut the river rock concrete. The project included pavement removal, removing an existing brick manhole, excavation, installation of approximately 12 linear foot of new sanitary sewer pipe, and installing a 48-inch dog hole manhole and trench compaction. Bids were received and opened by the City of Ottumwa on March 5th, 2018, 10 a.m. 3 sets of plans were distributed and 3 bids were received. The low bidder was DC Concrete and Construction of Dowds, Iowa, in the amount of $6,000. The 3 bids are listed and attached. The project will be funded through the sewer fund balance.
Okay. Any questions for Larry? Mark?
The piece that needs corrected or repaired on this is the old brick portion that you were discussing with us the other day. Is that correct? It had washed away?
No, this is actually something different. This is a small line up on Elm. What we discovered in there at some point in history, someone made a repair and allowed about half of the line to fill with concrete. It had to happen some years ago because it was river rock concrete, which hasn't been used in I don't know, 40 years. I'm just throwing that number out. I'm not sure. And then it was plugged with grease on top of that. We tried cutting it out. We had got from one of our suppliers 5 different cutting heads, including carbon bit and other things, and it simply wouldn't cut it in the line. So the best repair after reviewing the condition of the manhole was simply move the manhole, cut out about 6 foot of pipe that the concrete was in, and install new.
So how old is that section of sewer line that's there right now?
I'd have to look what year that sewer was put in.
Okay. Is it under, do we have intent to replace or repair that sewer line in the next 4 or 5 years?
No, other than that obstruction, the clay line looks in good shape. The clay line that the concrete was in good shape.
Okay.
It's just we could not get it out and return that line to full service without possible future plugs. And we are and will look at where did that amount of grease come from?
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Public hearing, this is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the proposed sale of city property to Pools Truck Service, Inc.
Joni's going to take this, so Joni, you can give us a start.
Thank you, Your Honor. The city has received an offer from Pools Truck Services, Inc. to purchase approximately 4.6 acres of real estate that's legally described in the proposed purchase and development agreement that was attached to your packet for the sum of $25,000. The real estate is located near South Ash Street and is adjacent to city real estate recently purchased by Wingers. The property is abandoned railroad right-of-way acquired by the city and has been sitting vacant for several decades. Pools plans to expand storage for the trailers that are used to transport JBS product out of the plant and to markets across the country. Currently, approximately 125 trailers load product out weekly. The expansion is expected to increase this to at least 200 trailers weekly. Pools plans to increase its staff by 3 full-time positions and possibly 4 to 5 part-time positions as a result of this expansion. The proposal promotes economic development in the Westgate urban renewal area and is basically critical to JBS production. Pools would pay the cost of survey and all closing costs. The property's been appraised for the sum of $45,000. The offer was subject to the city's review of any competing proposals which had previously been solicited. To satisfy competitive bidding requirements as well as Iowa Code Section 403.8, a resolution was passed previously to approve the minimum development requirements, competitive criteria, and procedures for disposition of property located within Westgate. Notice was published in the Courier on February 7, 2018, soliciting competitive bids. Bids were accepted until March 8, 2018, and none were received. Based upon that, council needs to determine that the proposal submitted by Pools satisfies the offering requirement, declaring the intent of the city to enter into a purchase and development agreement with Pools. And staff is strongly recommending approval of this agreement.
This is a public hearing, so if there's anyone in the audience that wants to address this item, now is the time to step up. Seeing none, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Go ahead and take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Resolution 31, 2018, accepting the purchase and development agreement for $25,000, approving the sale of real estate near South Ash Street to Pools Truck Service. Recommendation, pass and adopt Resolution 31, 2018.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions for Joni? Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the resolution instituting proceedings to take additional action for the issuance of not to exceed 200,000 general obligation bonds.
Good evening, Bob. You have the floor.
Good evening, Your Honor. Thank you. A public hearing is required by the Code of Iowa prior to the issuance of general obligation bonds. These bonds will be used to pay for computer work, time clock, phone system, and the golf course bridge. And these bonds will be repaid using the debt service levy.
Okay, this is a public hearing, so if there's anyone in the audience that wants to comment on this, now's the time to step up. Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Thank you.
Resolution 71, 2018, instituting proceeding to take additional action for the issuance of not to exceed 200,000 general obligation bonds. Recommendation, pass and adopt Resolution 71, 2018.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions for Bob? Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Byrd?
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the resolution instituting proceedings to take additional action for the issuance of not to exceed 300,000 general obligation bonds.
Go ahead, Bob.
Thank you, Your Honor. Once again, as required with all this one and the next one, also a public hearing is required by the Code of Iowa prior to the issuance. These bonds, the funds will be used to pay for the airport runway reconstruction project for a portion of it. 2019, we'll come back again with the balance of what we'll be needing to finish out that project for the big runway project out there. This is taking care of a lot of the preliminary costs, the engineering, things like that. These bonds will be paid with airport urban renewal area revenues.
Okay. This is a public hearing, so if there's anyone that wants to comment on this. Seeing none, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Byrd?
Yes.
Resolution 72, 2018, instituting proceeding to take additional action for the issuance of not to exceed 300,000 general obligation bonds. Recommendation, pass and adopt Resolution 72, 2018.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Go ahead, Bob.
I have nothing further to add on this one. I have nothing further to add on it.
Okay.
So.
Any questions for Bob? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Byrd?
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the resolution instituting proceedings to take additional action for the issuance of not to exceed 350,000 general obligation bonds.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Once again, a public hearing is required by the code prior to the issuance of GO bonds. These bonds will be used to pay for the demolition of houses in Ottumwa. The bonds will be paid using the debt service levy. These will be a taxable issue.
Okay, this is also a public hearing, so if there's anyone that wants to address this item. Seeing none, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Byrd?
Yes.
Resolution number 73, 2018, instituting proceeding to take additional action for the issuance of not to exceed 350,000 general obligation bonds. Recommendation, pass and adopt Resolution 73, 2018.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you, Holly. Any questions for Bob? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Byrd?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the Wapello Street and Albia Road roundabout project.
Go ahead, Larry.
This is the second phase of the roundabout projects. Construction on phase 1 should start mid-April 2018, with phase 2 having a late start date of June 18, 2018. The city was awarded a $500,000 traffic safety improvement program grant, which was approved at the July 18, 2017 council meeting. This project is to construct a modern roundabout consisting of approximately 3,000 square yards of 8-inch PCC pavement with 860 yards of stamped colored PCC. The approach lanes and associated raised mediums, and storm sewer improvements at the intersection of North Ferry Street, Albia Road, and Wapello Streets. Bids were received and opened by the City of Ottumwa on April 11th, 2018 at 2 p.m. And the bid report and bid award recommendation will be presented to the City Council meeting on April 17th or 2018 or at a later date as determined by staff.
This is also a public hearing, so if there's anyone in the audience that wants to address this item, seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Resolution number 79, 2018, approving
Yeah.
approving the plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimated costs for the Wapello Street and Albia Road Roundabout project. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution 79, 2018.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions for Larry on this project? Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
No.
Councilmember Rowe?
No.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Motion is carried. And I think, Larry, is it safe to say that this project is about 50 cents on the dollar cost to the city?
That'd be correct. We got 500,000 from the grant. We have a couple $100,000 in lost, and I think 300,000 in the road use.
Thank you. Okay.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing accepting the bid and approving sale of city-owned property located at 104 Linwood to Colton Benson for $25,000.
Good evening again, Jody.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We accepted sealed bids for this placarded house until March 13th. We received 12 bids for the property. Colton Benson submitted the best bid in the amount of $25,000, and staff is recommending the council accept his bid.
This is also a public hearing, so if there's anyone in the audience that wants to address this item, seeing none, let's have a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Resolution number 80, 2018, accepting the bid and approving the sale of city-owned property located at 104 Linwood to Colton Benson for $25,000. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution 80, 2018.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Any questions for Jody? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Jody.
This is a time, place, and date set for a public hearing on resolution determining an area of the city to be blighted area and that the rehabilitation, conservation, redevelopment, or a combination thereof of such area is necessary in the interest of the public health, safety, or welfare of the residents of the city, designating such area as appropriate for urban renewal projects and adopting the urban renewal plan.
We'll introduce Kevin Flanagan, City Planner. So Kevin, you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is the first of four action items tonight concerning the former St. Joseph's Hospital site development. We will be calling from here on out the Vogel Urban Renewal Area. The first item, of course, here is setting up that urban renewal area by resolution. And I'm sure everyone's had a chance to look at that map involved there. Basically, the resolution also sets the area as a blighted area. I do want to remind the public and members that that term blighted applies only to the private property where the development itself will take place, and no other private property is actually included in the urban renewal area or is considered as a blighted condition. The other areas that are outlined in that map are the public right-of-ways leading back to North Court, which would include Alta Vista, Vogel, and Vaness, as well as North Ash Street which is part of course, the developer's deliverables to us, which we'll get into that a little bit later. But that is what this first action will do, is the resolution. The next one will be the ordinance, and the ordinance will basically record the description of the property that will allow for us to capture revenues and take our TIF action and meet our obligations for the rebatement deal that's to be considered later. But I'd happily take any questions that members may have.
Well, this is a public hearing, so if there's anyone that wants to address this item, let's hear from the public first. Okay, seeing none, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Now, let's take the roll first.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Byrd?
Yes.
Resolution 85, 2018, determining an area of the city to be a blighted area and that the rehabilitation, conservation, redevelopment, or combination thereof of such area is necessary in the interest of the public health, safety, and welfare of the residents of the city, designating such area as appropriate for urban renewal projects and adopting the urban renewal plan. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution 85, 2018.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you, Mark. Any questions for Kevin?
I do, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Can you remind the public once again why we're moving Vogel and Ash and the other two streets as part of the urban renewal area?
Yes. Basically, that will provide councils in the future to avail themselves, the opportunity for them to avail themselves of the multiple funding opportunities that they can have at their disposal to do repairs that will occur or they might want to occur or rebuild or anything like that of infrastructure and road on those right-of-ways. Now, we're not committing to doing that by any stretch with what we're doing today, but it will give them the opportunity to do that. Now, of course, that would involve the use of TIF revenues after we meet our 15-year obligation that we're going to commit to tonight. So, you know, the odds of that happening, it's hard to say because the city, our city, as well as other public entities could probably use those general fund monies at that time. But you don't want to limit the opportunities or tie the hands of future councils. So you include those streets that are going to be impacted by the development and by the existence of the new development itself, the increased traffic and other burdens.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Byrd?
Yes.
Ordinance number 3141, 2018 for urban renewal plan for the Vogel urban renewal area. Recommendation passed first consideration of ordinance number 3141, 2018.
Is there a motion?
Move recommendation A is presented.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Byrd?
Yes.
Now B, waive the second and third consideration, pass and adopt ordinance number 3141, 2018.
Is there a motion for that?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Any questions? Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Byrd?
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing to approve amendment to conceptual plan for the St. Joseph Development.
Okay, Kevin, you still have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, originally, when we established the PUD, the Plan Unit Development for this site on May 19th, 2016, or I'm sorry, 2015, that gave 2016, that gave the city the opportunity to work with the developer to develop a development plan accordingly with that concept that was approved. Of course, it included the older structure of the hospital, as everyone knows. And so an extension was provided to the developer we can provide an extension of up to 1 year in order to take that through May 19th, 2018. But we're coming up on that now. And so that extension was provided to the developer. But this new conceptual plan, which was brought to us not too long ago by Blackbird, and I want to point out we do also have representatives of Blackbird here with us tonight if council would like to hear from them. And shortly, we should have a graphic up on our display illustrating the site plan. There we go.
This is a public hearing. If there's anyone in the audience that wants to address this item, now is the time to step forward. Okay, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Dowie?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
So amendment to conceptual plan for St. Joseph's Development. Recommendation, approve the amendment to the conceptual plan for St. Joseph's Development.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented, Your Honor.
Second.
Thank you, Skip. Any questions for Kevin? You can see the sketch up on the screen. Okay, hearing none, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Dowie?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Thank you.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the proposed development agreement with 312 East Alta Vista Partnership, LLP.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Thank you, Your Honor. The inclusions in this development agreement are as from the developer. The deliverables will be 67 units of mixed density market rate housing. 17 of those will be single family. 50 of those will be multifamily townhome developments. And we'll also see improvements to North Ash Street, a rebuild there. We will also see a new city street called Park Lane. We will also see a portion of new city thoroughfare called Vogel Circle, which will circle this public park here, which will be called St. Joseph's Park. The inclusions of that public park will be here, 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 and here. Those will be dedicated after development. This is Park Lane here in the rear. I'm running out of battery. And this is North Ash, of course, which will be fixed. That will be used as a kind of a scratch lane during the development process. Alleyways to the rear that will access the parking for the multifamily units here and here will be privately maintained. There'll be 2 phases of this development with 28 multifamily units in the first phase and 22 single-family units in the second phase. Multifamily units, the single-family unit development should be going on during both phases. The commitments to the city are for a 15-year rebatement, not to exceed $3.5 million. Of course, that's an estimation for us because at the beginning of this process, the first 2 to 3 years of our rebatement schedule will be a partial assessment, will be based on a partial assessment. It is estimated by the developer that by the end of 2019, approximately 49% of this development should be completed. So as you can see, there will be somewhat of a partial limit there in the first 2 to 3 years. So the entirety of the rebatements will not most likely reach the 3.5 million, but rather the 15 years first. The other promissory from the city in this contract is that within 15 days after signing this development agreement, the city will transfer $500,000 from the Community Development Fund of the city to developer to aid in demolition of the present structure. Now that fund is not comprised of property taxes, but rather donations, grants, bequeathments, and perhaps sales taxes and resources such as that. But I'll gladly entertain any questions.
Well, this is a public hearing first, so is there anyone in the audience who wants to address this item? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
We'll give it to Holly. Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Resolution 86, 2018, approving and authorizing execution of a development agreement by and between the City of Ottumwa and 312 East Alta Vista Partnership, LLLP. Recommendation, pass and adopt Resolution 86, 2018.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Any additional questions for Kevin? Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin, and also want to thank Representative Blackbird who are here tonight. I think this is a great beginning for some new development in our community. So. Got one more? G10.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the proposed submission of 2 community development block grant applications for the 2018 Main Street infrastructure improvement projects.
Good evening, Kelly. Kelly Jenners from
Mayor
the Legacy
Cancel.
Foundation.
The proposed project includes the complete rehabilitation of above and below ground infrastructure in the 100, 200, and 300 blocks of East Main Street, as well as portions of Court, Market, Green, and Jefferson Streets in downtown Ottumwa. The below ground activities include rehabilitation of water, sewer, and storm sewer utilities, as well as the pertinent electric, gas, and communications utilities. The above ground activities include the full replacement of the streets and sidewalks in the 300 block of East Main Street and intersections at Market and Green Streets. Partial block improvements will occur on Market and Green Streets, and partial intersection improvements will occur at Court and Jefferson Streets. Infrastructure that allows for stormwater runoff to be managed prior to entering the storm sewer system include permeable pavers and bioswales. Enhanced pedestrian features are also highlighted in the project. The needs for this project were first outlined in the city's 1996 Downtown Development Guide and was further discussed in the 2001 Comprehensive Plan, the city's long-term control plan for sanitary and storm sewer separation, the 2011 Reclaim Main Street Town Hall meeting and subsequent report, the 2015 Downtown Master Streetscape Project Town Hall meeting, the 2017 Better Block Project, and the 2017 Ottumwa Downtown Parking Study. The timing of this project coincides with the completion of several other major projects in the area, including the infrastructure rehabilitation project for Vine Street to Jefferson Street, the completion of the Canteen Alley Phases 1 and 2, and the anticipated completion of the Phase 2 facade rehabilitation project. The total cost of the project is estimated to be $6,139,000. Funding for the project will include 2 $800,000 requests from IEDA's Community Development Block Grant Program, one from the Water Sewer Fund and one from the Community Facilities Fund. The local match for this project is estimated to be $4,509,000. If awarded, the city's contribution to the project will be $2.3 million. The Ottumwa Waterworks contribution will be $278,000, and the remainder of the local match, $1,761,000, are to be paid by the Ottumwa Regional Legacy Foundation. According to the census data provided by IEDA, the estimated LMI population for the city of Ottumwa is 51.95%, which is the estimated portion of federal funds that will benefit low and moderate income persons. No persons or businesses will be displaced as part of this project. However, as with any infrastructure project, temporary disruptions to normal business activities are expected. Main Street Ottumwa will be hosting a Preparing for a Rehabilitation information session by Main Street Iowa staff to help city and local business and property owners minimize the impacts of construction. Additionally, construction is to be undertaken in one-block segments as to minimize the impacts of both business and traffic. The 2 above-mentioned grants will be submitted on the following dates. The water and sewer will be submitted on or before April 1st, 2018, and the community facilities will be submitted on or before April 20th, 2018. Thank you.
Okay. This is a public hearing. With that information Kelly supplied, are there any persons that want to address this item? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Byrd?
Yes.
Resolution 87, 2018, approving and authorizing the mayor to sign and submit 2 community development block grant applications for the 2018 Main Street infrastructure improvement projects. Recommendation, pass and adopt Resolution 87, 2018.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions for Kelly or any of our other staff? Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Byrd?
I abstain as I'm assisting in writing the grants.
Thank you for that. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Ready to move on?
Resolutions. Resolution 69, 2018, approving permanent sanitary sewer easement granted by Sean Skinner to attach to 722 Baker, Ottumwa, Iowa, which was recently purchased by Sean Skinner. Recommendation, pass and adopt Resolution 69, 2018.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Okay. Are you going to take that, Jonah?
I believe I am, Your Honor. The city of Ottumwa recently sold real estate located at 722 Baker to the buyer, Sean Skinner, but it was subject to Mr. Skinner granting a permanent sanitary sewer easement on the property. We've gotten that completed, the survey all done, and I've attached a copy of the proposed agreement, which the Skinners have signed, and request that the council approve accepting that permanent easement. And we will pay the cost of the recording.
Okay, any questions for Joni? Take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Byrd?
Yes.
Resolution 70, 2018, approving a contract with Hill Productions and Media Group, Inc. for the development of a custom municipal multi-page website for $10,574. Recommendation, pass and adopt Resolution 70, 2018.
Is there a motion?
I'd like to amend the recommendation to include Neapolitan Labs instead of Hill Productions.
Okay. Let's, we don't have a motion on the floor for the original. You want to amend it first? Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Let's have some discussion. Edward, are you our person to address these issues and answer questions for us? Edward Wilson, who's our IT person.
Yes, I'd be happy to answer questions on this.
So I guess the reason why I amended the motion was due to the cost between the two proposals, Neapolitan being less for, the same comparable product. Not that Hill Productions has any lesser product to provide. I think they're both great. But I think when we're looking at our cost for the development of the site, as well as our yearly cost for hosting and things, I think it makes sense to go with a more affordable option.
Any other questions or comments? Edward, anything you want to add to that?
I just wanted to show a quick presentation on some of the differences between the two.
Would you speak right into the microphone so we can hear you? Thank you.
Sure. I just want to show a quick presentation on some of the differences between the two vendors. I have two example sites from each vendor, Hill Productions and Neapolitan Labs, and a variety of different viewing devices from high resolution computer monitors, which are becoming more and more common, to medium resolution monitors and smartphones. So this is an example of one of the Hill Productions sites on a 2K monitor. There are 4K monitors that are becoming more and more popular that would have double the pixels of this. Go to the next slide. This one's Ottumwa Recycles. This is another Hill production site that the recycling center just had made. Next one. This is an example of one of the Neapolitan lab site on a 2K monitor. It's pretty compressed in the middle. Next one. This is another Neapolitan lab site on a 2K monitor. This is your standard 1080p monitor, pretty common. Next. And then now we're to the mobile devices. And both vendors show these sites quite well. Any questions?
Mr. Mayor, if I may just speak to this for just a moment. What Edward has put in front of you is the same display of differences between the two sites that I shared with city staff at a staff meeting a couple of months ago. As I've said before, the recommendation will remain the same as, from an administrative standpoint, that we go with Hill Productions for a number of reasons. First of all, I was told to make sure and include as much input from staff and council as possible to that extent. At a staff meeting, we had this very same display, and the vast majority of the staff members recommended that we, at that point, we said migrate to Hill Productions. In addition to that, there were some questions regarding how compressed the site was from Neapolitan Labs. And that's probably based more on aesthetics, but I would say from a staff perspective, the recommendation remains the same, that we go with Hill Productions. One of the items I think is important to bear in mind, Hill Productions is in Davis County, they're in Bloomfield. Neapolitan Labs is in Ankeny. So when you're looking at service delivery, quite frankly, it goes without saying which one is closer, and that is Hill Productions. As I've said before, and I'll say it again, I will carry out the desires of the majority of the council members, but I just want to be clear, the staff recommendation, that remains the same, that we stick with Hill Productions. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Your Honor.
Mark?
So looking at these two, when you're looking at your 2K versus for Hill versus Neapolitan, I just have to ask the question, just because Hill Productions has that already, is this to say that Neapolitan Labs can't reproduce what Hill Productions is doing? I guess just to make things on an even playing field, are we really comparing apples to apples? Was Neapolitan Labs asked to produce a 2K mock-up site that Hill Productions did?
Neither one of the vendors were asked specifically to create a site that was viewable on, let's say, a 2K monitor, but these are just sites that they have produced in the past that they list on their own website.
So it's fair to assume then that it's possible none of the vendors that Neapolitan Labs currently has asked for that.
That's correct.
Okay. And I guess my second question leads to the future plans, because I know there's upgrading if we want to make changes to the website down the road. What's the cost break between the two websites if at some point we decide now we don't want to go this route, regardless of the company, we don't want to go this route with this particular app or this particular page, we want to go a different route? What's the cost break between those two?
So Neapolitan Labs is a flat $100 an hour for editing or additions to the website. Hill Productions is a flat $65 an hour.
Thank you.
I have a question. So when we were receiving the proposals from Hill and Neapolitan, I know the hourly after the fact was higher for Neapolitan, but on the proposals, Neapolitan said any additions, bells and whistles we wanted were included in the flat $9,000, but Hill Productions said anything we wanted to add to that base price was more on the front end, correct? That was what they presented the first night.
Mr. Mayor, can I speak to this for just a moment? Councilman Berg brought up this point. And just to reiterate, I reached out and made contact with both Hill Productions and Neapolitan Labs and asked them if this goes to the question, I believe, of edits. And the cost of editing, quite frankly, is something that both of them, first I called Mitch Gowdy and visited with him and said, what costs would be associated with us, quite frankly, making additions, augmentations, or adding pages to that? And he said the cost would be very, very small. You can see that what our fee is per hour, the $65 an hour indicated that. But he said all items being equal, that's probably something we would do for free. I also called Brian McMillan and asked him the same question. He gave the same response in terms of the edit. There is a differential that just me, I'm not too terribly concerned about the cost differential on the editing, even though Neapolitan's is a little bit higher, but both of them indicated to me that they would be able to do that relatively easily. And if they couldn't do it, they felt that was something they were confident that Katie King, our administrative secretary, would be able to achieve.
I guess what I was referencing was front-end development, not after it's developed. Front end being what types of features and displays are going to be built in the initial website was my question.
I'm assuming that's included in
my understanding
of the initial, quite frankly, quote of 9,000.
Yeah, that was my understanding, that the features listed on the presentation were included with that front end build dollar amount.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor to include Neapolitan in this process. We need to take care of that item first. So are you satisfied with the questions, or are there any more questions?
I guess I'm confused on the motion because I thought the motion was to replace Neapolitan or Hill with Neapolitan, not to include Neapolitan.
The amendment that Holly put forth was to include Neapolitan in the motion. So that
No.
you want to restate it, please?
Yeah, so it was to remove Hill Productions and include Neapolitan Labs.
So we'd be basically approving the Neapolitan company to do the web redesign. Okay, the motion is made and seconded. Any other discussion?
And we're voting on Neapolitan.
That's correct. Edward, any final comments from you?
No.
Okay, so the motion is to approve the Neapolitan Lab, and their cost is what, $9,000 upfront?
Mm-hmm.
And $100 per hour after that. Are you clear on the motion? Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
No.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, thank you, Edward. Yeah, we're going to, as we've already done at the beginning of the meeting, skip 3 and 4. So we're down to number 5.
Resolution number 76, 2018, approving the contract, bond, and certificate of insurance for the asphalt street repair program 2018 with Norris Asphalt Paving Company, LC for $1,099,514.85. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution 76, 2018.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Good evening again, Larry. Go ahead.
These are the required bond, certificate of insurance, and signed contract with Norris Asphalt Paving Company of Ottumwa, Iowa for the above referenced project and are now on file with the city clerk. The project was awarded at the March 6, 2018 City Council meeting in the amount of $1,999,514.85.
Are there any questions for Larry? Okay, seeing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Thank you.
Resolution 77, 2018, approving change order number 8 for $6,650,000 and change order number 9 for $37,462.70 for the Market Street Bridge Deck Replacement Project. Total increase, $44,112.70. New contract sum is $3,169,825.54. Recommendation, pass and adopt Resolution 77, 2018.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Go ahead, Larry.
Additional repairs were required to repair Pier 4. Original plans did not call out repairs to the pier footing. During the course of the repair work on the piers, it was determined that the concrete had deteriorated in the footing area, requiring additional dewatering and additional repairs. The additional cost for dewatering totaled $6,650 and is addressed in change order 8, and the additional cost to repair the deteriorated concrete that was performed according to the original contract's unit price, which totaled $37,462.70, which is addressed in change order 9 for a total change order amount in $44,112.70. We did list, more of a reminder for the viewing public, this project did include $1 million for the HBP grant, and under our STP funds, we had $1,496,000, and Legacy contributed $350,000.
Any questions for Larry?
I got a quick
Comment?
question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, not so much about this, Larry, but just as for what the repairs for on Pier 4. Just out of curiosity, what were the other piers' conditions? I mean, this one was deteriorated. Was there something special about why this one deteriorated and the other ones didn't?
Well, it had to do with the extent of the deterioration. As you're doing your plans, you don't actually build your coffer dams and go in and dewater around your piers to actually see the depth. You have to make some just engineering judgments based on the overall condition of the rest of your piers and superstructure. So once you get in, you can actually determine exactly what happened. And that's exactly what the dewatering was for, was to go ahead and dewater the area around the piers, which included, building some sort of coffer dam, and go from there.
Awesome. Thank you.
Go ahead, Skip.
I'm assuming you're getting ready to pay this project off.
We're working that direction.
Have you had a chance to look at the paint on the downstream side? It's two different.
We have looked at the difference. There is a difference between the new steel and the old steel on the color. I'm not real sure what they can do about that. We've talked to them. They put on the number of coats required. I don't really think there's a lot. You have to really be looking for that color change.
How come on the upstream side, it's perfect all the way across, but I don't understand.
Because that was a top coat on existing green paint without the new steel. If you look on the south side, we had several beams that were new steel done in the factory that changed the color.
Still don't make sense to me. You had green paint on the upstream side and it came out perfect.
It was a uniform color all the way across the river, where on the south side, you have two different steel products. You have a new steel painted in a factory and then a field painted one.
I understand, but on the downstream side, there's a darker blue there that was put on green, as well as the upstream side was put on green. And it's, for some reason, they came out two different colors. I don't know why that should make the difference.
I don't know what else to add, Skip.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Ready to vote? Take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Resolution 78, 2018, awarding the contract for the Montauk Lane Culvert Project to Davis County Excavation of Drakesville, Iowa for $29,725. Recommendation, pass and adopt Resolution 78, 2018.
Is there a motion?
With the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Go ahead, Larry.
The existing corrugated metal pipe culvert is severely corroded and partially collapsed. This project will replace it with a 54-inch reinforced concrete pipe culvert. The easements were approved on January 16th, 2018 council meeting. A second contract will be let later to install the road surface. Bids were received and opened by the City of Ottumwa on March 14th, 2018 at 2 p.m. 7 sets of plans were sent out and 3 bids were received. The low bidder is Davis County Excavation of Drakesville, Iowa, in the amount of $29,729. Bid tab is attached.
Any questions for Larry? Seeing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Byrd?
Yes.
Resolution number 83, 2018, approving Ridgeway Electric Company change order number 1 for $417 and accepting the work as final and complete for the Beach Ottumwa Phase 3 RFP 2X LED lighting replacement. New contract sum, $9,954,000. Pass and adopt resolution 83, 2018.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Thank you, Mark. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Good evening, Gene. You have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The City Council approved this contract in the amount of $9,537 to Ridgeway Electric of Ottumwa, Iowa on January 16th, 2018 for the beach renovations Phase 3 RFP number 2X LED lighting replacement. This project added LED lighting above the competition and training pools while the pools were drained for maintenance. This project is also part of the city's ongoing energy efficiency efforts. Change order number 1 consists of removal of underwater lights in both pools that short-circuited years ago, thereby eliminating a safety concern. This project has now been completed according to the plans and specifications. This will approve change order number 1 and authorize payment and release of all retainage. The amount of change order number 1 is $417. New contract amount is $9,954. And the total Phase 3 contract amounts are $124,680 so far.
Any questions for Gene? Seeing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Byrd?
Yes.
Before you start, I would just compliment Gene. The LED lights certainly make a difference in the pool area, and the work you're doing looks really great there. It certainly brightens the whole facility. Okay.
Resolution number 84, 2018, approving supplemental agreement for professional services for conducting the WPCF diffuser performance analysis with HDR Inc. of Des Moines, Iowa for $7,000 with a new total price of $50,300. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution 84, 2018.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented, Your Honor.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Larry, go ahead.
The diffuser performance analysis is critical to the operation of the WPCF plant and impacts both the City of Ottumwa and JBS capacity and operations. The additional information is needed to account for limitations in the modeling software. Previous studies did not fully account for the needed diffuser repairs nor adjust for the 7Q10 flow and riverbed variations. The additional model will allow near-field mixing impacts of the diffuser structure itself. The original design of the diffuser calculated an 80% mix. Recent in-house estimates were at 17.82. That wasn't the full analysis, but a visual. This reduction in mixing rate will create additional permit requirements. That's one of the things that we're working through with the DNR now is where will we land with additional requirements in the future. We've had some pretty successful meetings with the DNR on this very issue.
Any questions for Larry? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Byrd?
Yes.
Ordinance number 3140, 2018, amending the Code of Ordinances of Municipal Code of the City of Ottumwa, Iowa, by amending Chapter 7, Administration, Division 5, Department of Public Works, by deleting Sections 2-289 and 2-290, and inserting new Sections 2-289 and 2-290, and amending Division 6 of Chapter 2, Department of Engineer, by deleting Sections 2-314 and 2-315, and inserting new Sections 2-314 and 2-315. Recommendation passed the first consideration of ordinance number 3140, 2018, and waive the second and third consideration, pass and adopt ordinance number 3140, 2018.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Move recommendation A is presented, Your Honor.
Is there a second? Thank you. Any discussion or questions? Andy, are you going to speak to this, or?
Mr. Mayor, I'll just reiterate what Ms. Jones said regarding the sections. As she outlined, it consists of three components. We're amending Chapter 7, Division 5. These are amendments. Chapter 2, Division 6, and then deleting certain sections 2-315, 2-314, and then those are memorialized in the insertions. As you can see from the staff summary and obviously the recommendation listed below, it's passed the first consideration of this ordinance. And as also is indicated under discussion, water pollution control facility would be placed back under the Department of Public Works. As I've shared with council members, there will be a little different chain of command insofar as that we will have our assistant city engineer. He will be providing certain supervisory authority over that division. So if you look at the chain of command, you have water pollution control, then you would have Phil Behringer, who is our assistant city engineer, and then Larry Seals, the director of public works. As you know, public works engineering is over those particular departments. What this would do is take water pollution control and put it back under the Department of Public Works. And again, that's my recommendation from staff.
Okay. Yes, go ahead, Mark.
Question for Administrator Morris. There has been discussion in the fact that grade 4 license is required to operate the facility both in our city code and by state law, if memory serves me correctly. By making this change, is the city of Ottumwa still going to be in compliance with our own code and with state regulation?
Sure. Yes, we will be. Cam Reeves is still retaining his position at water pollution control, so we're not losing him in that respect. And Philip, perhaps others can speak to this. Larry, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I know Philip is working on attaining certain grade licenses as well. But the first answer to your question is yes, this is not going to imperil that.
Okay, and I just want to insert my own personal opinion on this. This clearly is an administrative function, which is not really, at least in my opinion, the function of the city council. I would have much rather have seen the city council move to change the ordinance rather than move to vote to change the department. But that's just my own personal opinion.
Okay. Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, I have received some calls about this from the public, and I appreciate the public reaching out to me. And, I guess I have a few things to say. First of all, we have to trust the city administrator that we've put into the head of the city here. And Andy has shared with all of us and communicated with us the reasons why this suggestion is being made. This isn't something that is taking anybody by surprise or has made a decision has been made already. The reasons why this change, I think, will benefit both groups is that it'll eliminate potential miscommunication between them. It will promote more teamwork, which we've talked about teamwork as a city going forward. To keep moving our city forward, we need more teamwork. And not just with these two groups, but with all of the groups that we have that work for the city and do such a great job for us. But a shared responsibility and and improved communication can only help. This is a proactive move. We're not cutting jobs, we're not cutting pay, we're not cutting benefits, eliminating positions. So, it's this councilman's hope that these two groups conduct themselves professionally and work together to try to create a better finished product.
Mr. Mayor, if I might just add one point of clarification, if I could ask Ms. Keith to address this, and that is, I wonder if you would talk a little bit about, depending on the legislative action council takes tonight, the ordinance needs to be published. Could you give us some time frame about that publication and the importance of this actually taking effect once that publication is finished?
If council moves to pass the first reading of this and waive the second and third reading, the ordinance would be published. We're probably looking at a publication date either Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday of next week. An ordinance has to be published for it to take effect. So we're probably talking next week before it would become effective.
All right, thank you.
Okay, good clarification. Any other questions for Andy or Joni? Okay, hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Okay. That was an inclusive motion, so we've waived the second and third. Yeah, okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Joni, would you speak to this?
I believe you need to have a separate motion. The first motion was on Part A. You've got to have a separate motion to waive the second and third readings. So you need a separate vote for that.
Okay, is there a motion then?
Move to waive the second and third readings.
Second.
Okay, any questions for Joni? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Okay, we'll move down to item K. If there's anyone in the audience that wants to address some form of city business, now's the time to step to the microphone and give us your name and address, and we'll hear you. Go ahead.
My name's Roger Frederick Hornback Sr., 511 Marouge. Last council meeting, I addressed the council about adopting Iowa Code 455C. I was wondering if I was going to get an answer tonight or on whether we can continue that vote or why we can't get it done.
I'm going to turn to our city attorney and ask her to address this.
I have not had any time to research this particular issue, but my recommendation is to not pursue a city ordinance in this area. The state law applies, and I think this is an area that we really don't have jurisdiction and we shouldn't pursue it. So that's my initial recommendation without doing any additional research.
Okay, so we'll, I certainly have your phone number and address. I'll keep in touch with you. If there's any change in that, we'll let you know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Roger. Connie?
Thank you. Connie Wilson with the Chamber. We had our first meeting today. We are going to be privileged and honored to be hosting the Run for the Fallen cross-country marathon race, basically. They will be coming into Ottumwa the evening of June 12th, and they'll be leaving on the morning of June 13th. We're going to need a lot of assistance. Our meeting this morning, what I'm asking the council to consider, and we can take this on later, we have a little bit of time, but I want to bring it to your attention. They're going to need 2 RV lots in a dump area, and possibly I'd like to maybe do a community celebration at Jimmy Jones. What I'm requesting from the council is to waive those fees for this overnight event. So what this is, I'll just kind of read the overview, how they promote it, blazing a tribute trail across the nation spanning 6,000 miles over 4 months, recognizing nearly 20,000 fallen service members since the USS Cole. This begins on April 7th of this year, and we're going to need volunteers. We're going to need donations. Bill and Liz Schiller have been kind enough to host the 50 to 60 Gold Star family volunteers in their home for dinner the night of the 12th. They will be staying at the Armory overnight, so we do have that location secured for them. I've worked with the fire department. We had the meeting at City Hall today. So we have a lot. EMS is being coordinated by Dave Howard. We're going to need the police department, the sheriff's department, the DOT, the highway patrol, and streets department and so forth. They'll be coming in from Albia off 5 to 34 and then running 34 through town and then out to the Armory, as I believe. And then there'll be certain stops along where we need Gold Star family volunteers because all the families won't be there. And Schiller's family are Gold Star families, but they may not have their son's name read in Ottumwa. So you don't know where your child's name is going to be read. So saying that, we need dedicated people to stand at each one of those locations where we have the Gold Star medals set up. And they will read that service member's name and give a small bio of them. So we'll have more information as we come along, but I would like to bring this to your attention. And if it would please the council, I would definitely appreciate waiving any fees that we may come across as this group comes into town, and ask for your assistance, volunteering, and however you can help us to make this event happen. Okay? Any questions? All right. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you,
I appreciate
Connie.
it.
I just make one comment. I think this has been a monumental evening with the things that the council has voted on. The moving forward with the St. Joe project, I think, is something that's been a long time coming, but very optimistic that that's going to make a major difference in our community. The approving of the grants to do the streetscape and get that started. With any construction, there's always a little bit of pain, and I talked with our engineering department this afternoon about roundabouts and the intersection of Jefferson and Main, and so I would encourage the public to keep themselves abreast of what's happening in terms of timelines, because it will alter some traffic patterns, but the end results will be great. So we're on the move, and I just think we'll look back at tonight's efforts and say that this was a great beginning for a lot of good changes that we have been anticipating for a number of years here in the city of Ottumwa. So thank you very much for your support and your votes tonight. Are there any other comments or any other concerns you want to bring to the attention of the council? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Byrd?
Yes.
Thank you all and good night. 6:59.